Mm. Good afternoon, and welcome to our channel today. This is going to be our afternoon video. So many of you over the years have come to me about calculations, specifically rent calculations, and how coming up with those numbers. Many more are in housing, have accepted a voucher, and they have changed what are assets. So you have assets, income, and then the ratios behind that. So I want to talk about that a little bit today. Many of your PHA or public housing authority employees are under the belief that their old manuals allow them to essentially pump up the rent, and they exclude many types of income, and that's been a big problem. I know our office is trying to address it. It represents really about 30% of all cases my office gets, is where we have that circumstance where people are inheriting money and went through lawsuits, or whether or not they've had an actual change of income of cash value or other assets like cars, vehicles, homes. And so today I want to talk a little bit about that and how you might address that. So I'm going to be talking to you in some technical terms, and I'm going to provide operational manual for this. Now, many of you noticed there's been an uptick in the number of videos that I make, and you've also noticed my aggressive nature towards most of these PHAs. That's because I've become close to retirement. Starting January 1st, I'm one of most, I think, pretty close to all the way retired. And so I'm releasing a lot of critical details to you guys to be able to fight your cases, because I'm not going to be around forever. I've been in this game 26 years, 15 years on YouTube, and I'm probably approaching, 2,000 videos. And so I can't litigate everything for you guys every day. So, we got some crying cats. Y'all might get to meet Mr. Bunny, my white cat with no tail. We'll see. So, I'm going to provide a link that gives federal guidance. But for now, let's talk a bit. If you're still interested, when we get to about 8 to 10 minutes into this, we'll continue. If not, then we'll just turn over the documentation required to be able to ascertain assets, income, money, financial instruments, determine whether or not you have a high enough income or whether or not that's been calculated wrong. So I'll have you guys take a look at attachment A, Section 8, definition of annual income, CFR, Code of Better Regulation, Title 24, Part 5, Subpart F, Section 5,609. Yeah, this is why my job is sometimes difficult, because there you go. You've got 5,000 codes just under a subsection. As is my everyday life dealing with codes. So annual income means all amounts of monetary or not which, number one, go before and have the family's head or spouse, even a temporary absent and or two other family member, or anticipated to be received from a source outside the family during the 12-month period in which they do their calculations for the year. And then I'm going to skip a couple lines here so we can get some of the exclusions and what's not permitted. So payments in lieu of earnings such as unemployment, disability compensation, worker compensation, severance pay is provided by paragraph C3. Welfare assistance payments. Welfare assistance payments made under temporary assistance for needy families or TAMP directly, which include annual incomes only to the extent of payments qualifying as assistance under TAMP, CF 45 to 3031, and otherwise not excluded under paragraph C. So, we're almost getting into tax law, right? This is why you guys call me. We're 2 paragraphs into 10 pages here. So at this point, I'm going to switch back over to my crowd, just listening to me to just ramble on. And what I'm going to get to ultimately is the point. I'm going to give you guys a weapon. And let me grab that link. I'm going to give you all the titles, legislation, codes, and exclusions for assets, incomes, financial instruments. So what it'll do is when you have a caseworker that says you've made too much, you have too much, you own too much, we're going to put you out, this will stop them, okay? People make mistakes. PHAs do it as well. And for many of you, it could cost you your housing. The reason I'm bringing it up right now is because when things get tight, starting January 1st, they start doing all this cutting, the cutting of funds. and about 43% on the voucher side, another 53% on the homeless side, they're going to be looking for relief. And they're going to look and re-review all these cases. And where you've got caseworkers that have confused things as income, a lot of you guys are get kicked out, and you're going to get kicked out because you don't know how to fight back and actually determine what is income, what is assets, what is acceptable, what's excluded. This is going to provide that information, okay? So think of it as the last line of defense. If they want to argue code and title, then I would advise reaching out to our office. We'd be happy to meet in the courtroom, have an administrative judge make a decision, and then from there, we could send the, after the judgment's rendered against the PHA, then we'll send out the U.S. Marshal's Office to seize everything with the court in there until they pay up, okay? So it's, again, we're not trading pleasantries here. So you have to be careful. Keep in mind, many caseworkers don't last but 2 months in most housing authorities. It means they have the training of a 3-year-old that just graduated kindergarten, okay? They don't have much training. Their training would be comparable, again, to what you would get your little certificate and party after the kindergarten party, okay? And many of them will terminate your case, purge you from the system. You'll land with a 5-year ban, all for something that relatively that you have followed. Of course, the PHA's position will always be to deny the very existence of Code of Federal Regulatory law, and that under no way can the king and the queen of England here be infallible. In other words, no admission of guilt. So let's get on with this, right? Here's the link. 10 pages of glory. It's spelled out in perfect American English that if you attempt to terminate somebody's case for an asset or income that isn't on this list, you're done for. And don't walk quietly tonight and just think of congratulations to yourself. Make sure your next turn is to drag their ass right to the courtroom. And, pain, suffering, and other mental duress. Do not just allow them to self-correct. Make sure that they remember you with impunity for doing this. If you're going to accept the job, say you're a prostitute and now you want to moonlight as a caseworker at the housing authority. They just hired you off Craigslist. Next week, they're going to give you your GED, and you decide to go fuck up somebody's life because you thought you were almighty and powerful. When you do that and they come back and they quote this federal law to you, do not expect to be horrible anywhere else. You should expect a notice from court, to be notified of perjury, violation of federal law, and then you expect to be sued. You'll be lucky if they don't go after you personally after your assets at home, okay? That's how I deal with it, okay? No prayer circles, no pizza party, no forgiveness. We need to act in the same manner with the same extraordinary effort. In other words, if we're going to share some pain and misery, we need to share that equally. You need your dose, okay? So you cancel your holidays, sell all your fucking assets, because that's how it's going to go down. Especially if one of these people, you're working at PHA, you do this, and I catch your ass, you're done. So if you're in the video and you don't have live chat and you can't see it, and I have that selected so y'all can re-review this, then I would advise essentially going to the description and also the comment section, and you can grab a link there. And that is Code of Federal Regulation. So you cannot, there's no double talk, there's no arguing, there's no meeting it out, there's no pleading, any of that. You'll do as prescribed by federal law, or you will suffer the very fine consequence of that. Also, effectively, since that would be misconduct under federal rules, should be taken OIG, effective termination as well. If you're unable to read the coloring book you were provided to do your job at the PHA, then your fucking ass needs to go. So again, I find myself in a handful of profanities and aggravation because I feel the frustration of the people that simply want to be able to use this. And I've got PHA employees that are trained like little wind-up monkeys that do not understand what they're doing and how they're damaging people's lives. So I'm going to spend our Christmas season with great joy. And I'm going to take the PHAs and we're going to assume that they're my reindeer, and I'm going to ride their ass right onto the roof with this. Okay. I'm at the end of my career. There's nothing left to damage. So we're going to release everything. And for those you're keenly aware, in 2026, I'm going to go after administrative plans for many of these PHAs, and I'm going to create a database, and I'm going to publish them. I'm going to show you the same fortitude and misery that you insufferable people put on the back of every voucher holder out there. Okay? I'm going to light your ass basically on fire, not literally, but on fire. And I'm going to give people the weapons that they need under their Constitution and rights. So you guys quit violating people's Fourth Amendment. Okay? So the game was over. You know, we've pleaded, we've talked, we've argued, we've mediated. I'm done with that game. That's over with. Severe consequences point. And for those of you that have a pattern of that abuse, then subpoena of record, and they will determine just how many people and how many times you violated people's rights. And at that point, you should expect that there is another class that you can fall in, and that will be you'll go from issuing Section 8 vouchers to becoming a participant in Section 9. 3 hots in a cot in a federal prison for professional misconduct. And do not think that you can act with impunity. As the New York Housing Authority learned so, as 70 of their employees walked out in shackles. So organized crime, a history of destroying people's lives resulted in a vast portion of that all of us. Now, if that is the largest housing authority in America that got their ass stomped out of a door and handcuffed, do not believe you can act with impunity, whether you're in West Virginia, Atlanta, Houston, or any other place. You do not have the caliber or even fortitude, and your rent a lawyer from the strip mall isn't going to be able to help you. Okay, I'm fed up with all this. I'm fed up with my company having to address the issue over and over and over. So let me put the link again. You got a copy, you get a determination of house, get it in paperwork, no phone conversations, get it by email, get it by letter. And if they're going to determine to recalculate this and commit fraud, get a copy. That's the nail in the coffin that's going to go there. There's not going to be any apologies. You had a seizure at your desk and you weren't thinking clearly. That is the end of you. Fed up with this shit, honestly. So I'll put the link there. You can also find the description in the comments section here. And I'm going to lighten the mood a bit because, you know, one thing most of you don't understand that are new here, the reason that I've become so irate in my own videos, I'm not even the person that's being violated. I'm watching it, and I'm watching this shit go on for decades. I'm watching good people, grandmothers, veterans, seniors, and disabled being kicked out of programs because we got a girl, a little school girl that's working as the fry daddy at McDonald's, now working at the housing authority. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't even read the coloring book to understand how we're going to operate there. They're picking up the microphone, called the manager. Ain't much better, right? She don't have a fucking clue. So they're all wind up toys, you know, marching around the building like little rodeo clowns. Now, granted, many housing authorities out there do operate professionally and actually hire people with a degree and a plan, and they read manuals and do training. Many don't. They're running this stuff like the county jail, and they're violating people's rights. Okay? 4,200 housing authorities. Anybody want to put a number on how many do this game? And we're going to watch an existential number of people get violated because of all this cutting of funding. Look, when the money machine, when the government ATM dries up, what do you think that housing authority has to do? Because they're not in it for Jesus or nonprofit. They're there for money, baby. And the only way they can make that when it gets cut is to cut other people. That's the only way to give Sally and Bob a paycheck. Okay? Otherwise, they go back to their night job spinning around the light pole for $10. You know, if you don't want your job at the housing authority, you don't want to do it, go work and be a fry daddy. Okay, go be a fry daddy. You can go out in the field, pick oranges because nobody wants you there. Read the fucking coloring book. It's called SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. Okay, read your administrative plan. Make that reading material. Take your ADD pill and read the fucking manual. Learn how to calculate. If you've got to, call your mommy, she'll ride you down the damn dollar store and get you a calculator so you can calculate. Even get you a speak and spell. So you can learn to understand how to calculate 1 + 1. so we can graduate you. There goes that damn. Y'all love to watch me. We're gonna lose it in this, I'm gonna end up losing it in this video. That's probably the housing authority giving me a ring. Hey man, why are you talking so bad about us? Hey man, I'm just wishing you tidings and love and Christmas, baby. By the way, we have any Star Trek fans? Anybody want to get down with me? I'm not even that big of a Star Trek fan, but look, since I don't technically have to be working in my office, I'm here today in a leather jacket and a little bit of Star Trek, but I'm nailing it as usual, aren't I? Okay. I'm nailing that ass right to the carpet. And we're going to keep on, right? We're going to keep going until we get this straightened out. People shouldn't lose their home over such things and then have these people deny any existence, culpability with this whatsoever. We simply are unable to apologize and admit we're wrong and just continue to violate people like this. So let me get on in down in here and let's Star Trek it, baby. Let's Star Trek it. Let's Star Wars. Making me talk. Look, y'all making me talk like I'm from the trailer park. Okay. I used to be from there. I've tried to retire the trailer park, Jay, but back in the day when I was young, but God, it makes it hard to do when I'm dealing with trailer trash working at the housing authority. It's like, shit, what am I supposed to do with these people? All right, Lauren, hello, Jake, and fur babies. We might have a fur baby in a minute. Gracie's right over there, about 2 foot. That's my 26-year-old cat. Mr. Bunny's been popping around the house like popcorn. That's my disabled cat with the cat's version of autism, no tail, incontinent. I got to tell you the story of how he pissed on my new sneakers. It made me, at that point when he did that, and we had a $165 pair of shoes get ruined, I learned a lot about myself that day. I learned whether or not I love cats more than I love material possessions. And it turns out I love my cat more than my shoes. I tell you what, that was a good challenge of your moral center right there. But that's old buddy. I call it a tax write-off. And let me tell you another story just for fun, guys. We always include my little bit. I always put my business in the street, right? Go talk to the CPA. I said, look, what about these cats? I got to feed them and all these things. And of course, I love them. If the cat's in the video, and technically I'm making videos in regards to business, if the cat's in there, is he not an entertainer? The same way that Mr. Ed's in a video back in the 50s and 60s, right? The horse that talked. Well, isn't that a deduction? The cat's acting in the video. And so my CPA, she about fell out the chair. She goes, "You're trying to write a tax deduction for your cat's been in the video?" Of course, I said, they're here. They're my office managers. They're nicer than the people that work at the housing authority. Needless to say, I didn't get a damn deduction. So maybe the next video will be about the IRS. But look, there's two places I'm never going to put in check. You don't ever talk shit about the IRS, okay? So my friends at the IRS, I love you. Please don't come knock on my door. Lisa Bowen, so true. Texas homegirl. They hire any. Oh, they do. Look, man. You ever seen them people out in the parking lot just twirling around with a change cup, barely even got their panties secured to their ankle, and they're out there just acting wild. They didn't blow out the meth pipe, and next thing you know, the housing authority's hiring. Wait a minute, Mitch, didn't I just see you at the red light last night? Why are you you're my caseworker? What? Oh God. Valerie, greetings. Thank you. Season greetings to you as well. Who's getting ready for Turkey Day? I'm not killing a turkey, okay? I'm not buying a dead turkey either to cook. Me and the cats are going to do some chicken. We're going to put the chicken on the Barbie, as they say in England, and you European guys call it the Barbie. So we're going to light up the Barbie, and because chicken's good for the cats in modest dose, as long as I can keep Gracie out the grill. Ride the reindeer. That's you damn right. We got to ride the reindeer. Just think of them employees at the housing authority. We're going to put a collar and a leash on them, and they're going to be my 12 reindeers. I snap that ass, and they roll across my roof. Season's greetings, okay? I'm fed up with all this. It's insulting, that they're a way to get away with so much. I wish there were hundreds of me to argue these type of cases for all of you, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Thank you for your info and helping us understand. You're most welcome. Uh, Billy Billy Crump, where I live, a letter from the mental health doctor for emotional support animal. I don't like basic civil rights. Well, nobody likes to be violated. I mean, that's expected of your local police, to receive a glass eye, a wooden leg, and a concussion, if not. But to receive it from the housing authority seems a bit obstructive, right? So I'm wondering why the housing authority is operating under the same manual as the local police. Oh God, Kaylee Miller laughing out loud. Ranjero Jones, me, and I love Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie fan, big nerd, I guess. I do a lot of things that guys my age don't do. I mean, you know, it's just me. You got one life. Why the hell would you want to worry about what other people think to start with? Carlos Sims, exactly. Miss Lady Swang. I like that name. That's a very nice name. Hey, hey, now, Trenches, baby. That's right. Bunny Bun, retracted. YouTube, 1970, The Cat's Crying. Bunnies love tax write-offs, of course. We should be able to write off our pain and suffering when you got to deal with all the bullshit at the housing authority, right? You know, there's one of them I want to commend is the Seattle Housing Authority. They've been pretty good. One day since I've been on a rampage with housing authority, I probably should talk about the good ones that operate really well. And I probably will, but nobody's going to show up for that because everybody's pissed off and angry. It would be like kicking a harness nuts. Let's make a video to celebrate housing authority. Let's see how well that goes. I'll make one crispy dollar, right? So, all right. So for those that are latecomers here, we're going to do income, assets. We're going to do code federal regulation, and I'm going to do a recap. That way you think I'm not here to tell my personal story. Attachment A, Section 8 definition of annual income, 24 CFR, Part 5, Subpart F, Section 5609, 5,609. Annual income means all the monetary, and I'm going to issue you the exclusions, the exceptions, and all other policies under both Code of Federal Regulation, HUD, and IRS. This cannot be disputed. The worker cannot find or invent a new way to lie to you. And if they're suggesting that somehow the exclusion written here is not an exclusion, that they have somehow magically reinvented the wooden wheel and they're going to rewrite federal law, then make an immediate turn to drag their ass into court. Okay, because we're more than happy to set the record straight. You know how many cases are actually filed in court regarding housing authorities and their employees. You know how many times they actually win a case? Not frequently. It is actually 98.8% of the time they will settle rather than be a matter of public opinion, which gives you great advantage. Okay. So a lot of it's just settlement. In a normal world, it's 99.9% is settlement. In other words, most of them will not take the risk to burn their legal budgets for the year. The more you guys drag their ass into court, the quicker you're going to sink these organizations. And let me make something crystal clear. The housing authority are not the feds. The housing authority in your town is not HUD. They are not federal employees. They do not have federal protections. They have no immunity. They are open public agency, and they are subject to the will and state of the U.S. Congress, as well as state law, which would suggest that you may request a Freedom of Information Act to get their administrative plan. You can also get information like this, which will enable you to weaponize your case against them. And when a worker acts with impunity, will not hear the argument. You don't need to accept mediation. Move it to a court, okay? We don't do kangaroo court. Moving back to comments, money. Kathy Miller, they need to make it unlawful for landlords to not make repairs after HUD inspection fails and allowing abatement where the HUD contractors get canceled. Yep, that's actually a really good little scam there you're talking. I didn't make a video about that. It's actually a very sophisticated way to commit fraud with near impunity. But yes, I understand exactly what you're suggesting there. I've had a number of cases, probably a couple of years ago, wrapped around very similar very similar to what you're suggesting there. See a whole lot of that in Section 202, Section 811, where they're doing project abatements. So, moving on from there, Captain Miller, thank you for acknowledging that. So this is your opportunity to talk, okay? Don't be worried. I'm not an angry white man. I'm just a guy trying to make videos. But the most important thing is I'm a Section 8 consultant at the federal level. I've operated 26 years. I'm up for retirement January 1st. I will be 95% retired, so I'm still accepting calls to our office and will continue till I'm probably 70 or 80. And I will be doing a very minor amount of casework, about 3 to 4 clients a month. I'll accept casework where I help them get housing vouchers, but it's going to be extremely limited going forward after January 1st, okay? That means that most of my support staff will be gone, and you'll likely see me in my bed slippers and pajamas making videos, but that's okay. It's good to let your hair down after all this time. All right, so moving on from there. If you have questions, ask, okay? You don't get a second chance in this deal. Well, you'll get a second, third, fourth, and 10th because I make a lot of videos, right? Texas Home Girl, I love that name. Do you know if they're still doing home ownership with a voucher? I believe that was addressed in our video 3.5 hours ago where I talked all about home ownership. So I would say subscribe, dig through our channel, and you'll see that I've covered that subject matter around 121 times. And most recently, I gave all the rules, policy, and program plans for that and told you how to deal with that. So yes, the answer is unequivocally yes. Don't interpret me as being rude either. I was just doing a recap, okay? Nobody needs to wear their feelings on their shoulder around here. We're all just trying to be genuine. We're all trying to be honest. And sometimes that isn't pretty. Festival Tabernacle. I love that. Festival of Tabernacles. That's a very interesting and curious YouTube name, but I like it. If someone who, after 15 years of Section 8, saved $8,500 and bought 1 acre of land and camping and vacation, will it be taken by the AI god searching for fraud? No, it will not. Well, it's not supposed to. Anything's possible when you add ignorance into it. And I don't mean on your part, okay? And it's not just AI gods. You got people that operate that do not have enough professional standard and training. You know, when I talk about housing, I'm talking about profession and standard and training. Okay, they fail at that miserably. You cannot hire people, fill the building with caseworkers that just got their associates out the bubblegum machine. They have no professional standards, no SOP. They have never once read the administrative plan. And then when they don't have an answer because of defects in their personality, they will often create a lie rather than say they don't know. It's defect. We're hiring defective people. The kind of shit you throw away. When your vacuum is broken, it's defective and the belt doesn't work, okay, and you can't fix stupid, then you have to throw it in the trash. So what I'm suggesting is we have an epidemic of caseworkers working in housing authorities that have zero authority, acting in impunity, that are defective. It should be tossed in the trash. Well, not literally, but I think you understand what I'm saying. They're useless people. And because of that defect inside, they're unable to make an admission of guilt. So they've actually gobbled up their own bullshit. You know, you catch somebody in a lie, and what are they going to do? A grown man, a grown woman with a sinner is going to own that shit. Come back in your face. Yeah, I'm wrong, but, you know, kick some rocks anyways. But when you're dealing with the housing authority, they're unable to establish just any ability to accept responsibility for the lies we tell. Your mama should have whooped your ass more when you was little, because if you're still lying, if you're still wearing your Sunday belts and you're clocking in the housing authority and you're still lying and having hissy fits in that little office and lying to people, then you need to be corrected, okay? It means you're defective. You need to own your bullshit. Because if it goes too far, then you could end up indicted and then sitting in a federal prison. Nobody wants to hear you sassing in your mouth either. You might want to do that with people about you, not going to do it with me. I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm just suggesting that the frame of thought there. we're addressing this in real world terms. Okay, it makes no difference in my conduct or professionalism. I'm addressing this just as I intend to do it. We're not going to do it in pleasantries because this is not a pleasant topic. We're not dealing with apples and oranges, are we? We're not selling fidget spinners here. We're talking about staking somebody's housing and potentially killing them because they're on the street freezing in a car during a winter when it's 20 degrees or below freezing, right? So I don't need to fall in a character where I do hair and lipstick so I can talk in monotone and then worry about my professionalism. Okay, we're gonna address the fire. We're gonna go to the barbecue and we're gonna do it right. Okay, own your bullshit. All right, Texas Home Girl, thank you. Laughing out loud. I'm glad to have you here, Texas Girl. We hope you come again. Also, subscribe. Look, guys, y'all carry on like a bunch of bag ladies in here about this shit about, oh, I didn't get a notification. I'm late again. I'm late for church. Now I'm late for your channel. Subscribe. It's simple, man. YouTube will they'll send you some smoke signals. You come to the powwow. I will start out, I promise every person that subscribes that I will give you 15 minutes of professionalism, and then we're going to take a ride to the trailer park. We'll talk about the housing authority, corrective behavior. Okay, so for those that want to keep it, you want to do this whole church, we'll do church 10 to 15 minutes, but I make no guarantees after that. Okay. All right, so Art Deco, or Decker. We'll just call you Art Deco, right? So we had a person die, no wellness, no checks in this story, and they wouldn't listen to me. And the neighbor turned to the soup, and I couldn't get a copy of. Okay, what the hell are you talking about, bub? We had a person die, no wellness checks in the story. They wouldn't listen to me, and the neighbor turned to soup. Oh, couldn't get a copy of the lease till 8 months later. That's not unsurprising. That's not unsurprising at all, but it's sad to hear that. The Dawn 24 laughing. Well, I appreciate that. I think I should get a microphone to do stand-up comedy in the middle of the housing authority. But I'm scared I would get stabbed and shot before I even kicked off the first joke. So I don't want to have to get a restraining order again. Oh God. So Lori, I'm going to just call you Lori. You're the best. I appreciate that. I'm probably the worst, but thank you for pumping me up. Billy Crump, pray for me. Will do, my friend. We want nothing better for you, Billy. For all of us. We've been through, look, this whole country's been through a lot. We left the housing crisis in 08. We had a pandemic. We have hyperinflation now. We got people with food stamp cards don't work. We're in mass sitting homeless people next year. And in 5 weeks, we're giving notices to nearly 500,000 people that have housing, and we're revoking their voucher. And we're tripling the number of people that are homeless with no solution in place. Many, and more than half that crowd we're talking about, are children. And our Congress and our House see it quite appropriate to see children wake up with frostbite, frozen to the ground, and dead. Because there's just simply no solution for that many people. Starved to death, kicked to a sidewalk, and watch a 6-year-old die. That's what you're going to be hearing next year. I'm just reading the news, okay? You go into Google News. Let's just use Google News because they're the biggest, and they pull from all news agencies. And you put the words HUD in, or you put the words Section 8 housing in, and you're seeing a massive failure of the system. There are hundreds of housing authorities reporting right now they're terminating everybody's voucher. Hundreds of cities are chiming in and saying, look, we have no choice. We're now cutting loose 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000. You've got city government, state officials chiming in right now saying, look, this is going to create the single largest event of homelessness in U.S. history. And there is no direct solution in place. Meanwhile, the housing authority would have you believe that they have ingratiated themselves, that they have been sent by Jesus Christ himself to save us all. That it's not government money, but it's Sally pulling money out of her personal private wallet. that she's down control, that she's become a demigod at the housing authority, and she's going to pull out her cat whooper for everybody. And that anybody that doesn't follow suit with her sassy lips and attitude will be revoked, will be discriminated against, have their Fourth Amendment violated, will be kicked out for assets you don't even have, talked to like trash, and dumped like a $2 trick on 3rd Street. This is the love and care of your housing authority, using federal dollars to prostitute the people that are already victims. And they would love to have a pizza party there. That we should enjoy to bring fruits and wine to them under their feet. That their caseworkers have done such a marvelous job. We should bring them to the White House in chains. It's a shame. It's a travesty. And if I ever had political power or otherwise office to do so, I would seize the vast majority of this housing authority. I would line up prison buses and in tow mass. You think the migration from Mexico was big? You should see what I would do with housing authority employees that have contentiously and repeatedly for decades violated every one of your rights. Indentured, threatened, harassed. But let's wish good tidings. Christmas is right around the corner. And the PHA is on the naughty list. So, Dawn 24, better get it right or get left. That's right. Miss Lady Swag, I love it. Everyone needs some realness in their life. It's enough coddling going on. That's it. Hey, I'm like a soft angel puff when I deal with my cats. Don't yell at them. Don't touch them. Don't hit them. Love them to death. Treat them great. But when I deal with the housing authority, it's kind of like dealing with a snake in the grass. Okay? Moving on from there. Shay Nicholas, I got a question for you. I'm here in Massachusetts, about to leave the state. Well, where's the question? We know you're leaving. It's probably better you go from Massachusetts because it's on my top 3 hit list for worst PHAs. But I'll wait for your question. Dawn 24, only channel on YouTube I can come to and laugh my ass off. That's the point. Look, if we're going to drink Jim Jones's Kool-Aid in this channel, we start off with Profesh, right? Let's get Profesh. Then we move it to Jim Jones Kool-Aid. Then I attack the PHA. Then I put all my shit in the street, my business, right? Talk about my cats. Then we move on from there, and I bless you and wish you a wonderful holiday. Where else can you get this, right? Seemed like we need a good war story from the trailer park. I told you some pretty interesting stuff last time about growing up. I like to share that because it lends to who I am. So moving on from there, Lavender, thank you for your channel and being genuine. I appreciate it. It's helpful. And but the main thing is I just want to help you guys. So, but before I go, guys, I'm going to go ahead and just post that link one more time for late people show up and wonder what the hell is this guy talking about. I came here for information. You didn't know you came to the best in the planet. So here you go. Here are all the titles, codes, and acts for incomes, assets, and financial instruments. Do not trust the PHA to determine whether or not you're still a voucher recipient. Do not allow them to cheat you out of the rent that you rightfully should not be paying. And don't take this stuff with a grain of salt, okay? You'll end up in trouble. Remember, I'll tell you the old story. There was a cashier. And that old cashier, finally, somebody made the objection that person had stole out the cash register, okay? And so they were trying to figure out whether or not this was just a one-time event. In most cases, it turns out that it wasn't the first time. It was just one of many. But the reality was it was the first time they were caught. Let me remind you with PHAs, this ain't the first time. But let's make sure it's the last time they get caught, okay? I've never met a PHA where under indictment or subpoena where they can provide everything without actually implicating improper activity. In other words, professional misconduct, indictable. Okay? Exclusion law and not knowing is not an excuse. We'll still prepare you a mattress and shower slippers at the local prison, okay? You not knowing, you coming up with some wild excuse will not exclude you from complimentary shower slides at the federal prison. You will receive one sheet with a shit stain on it, a pair of shower slides, and if you're lucky, some bread and butter. Okay? That's the way I feel about this right now. We need to stop allowing PHA and caseworkers to handle so much, to lie, not do any SOP training, not read the coloring book. It's called administrative plan. I just call it the coloring book because we clearly have been meant to that for no other reason than to write it. We're not actually going to follow that. You know, it's like teaching people to drive without a manual. They're just all over the fucking road. And anytime they're wrong about something, they can't even admit it. So they gobble like a turkey their own shit. You know, if I'm lying here, please call me up. Please say, pop in the channel. Hell, I work for the Housing Authority. No, I don't lie. We've never violated anybody's right. We're doing prayer circles today. Would you like to sign up for a prayer? Does anybody have that experience so far? Does anybody want to hand out awards, go bring cash? We could start a GoFundMe for the Housing Authority. Does anybody want to do that? Has anybody felt loved, warm, and fuzzy? Okay. I don't see anybody. Does anybody want to raise their hand? I'm waiting. Let's do a clap along. No, of course not. Most of you are 1 inch from buying a gas can and some matches and setting shit straight. Okay. In my industry, you know, it's like, okay, I already know the game before it starts. We're just going to skip the pleasantries. Let's go straight to court. Now, I'm already like, hey, can you send me some photographs of all the shit in your office? Because I want to figure out what the pawn value is. Because when they come and seize everything with the court, I want to go ahead and just determine how much money I'm going to make. So just send me the photo. What year did you get your computer? How about the jewels in your neck? Because this is not even, you know, you personally, you also have assets. So could you tell me what you're driving? I like to go ahead and get the blue book value on that because my client needs to be paid. Oh, Dawn, I'm in Kansas. Man, you're out there. Let me know, Dawn. Have you met Dorothy in Kansas? I hear Toto's out there too. Jessica Camilla, it's not bad where I am. They are mostly on top of things. See, some of you out in the Midwest in small country towns, those PHAs aren't so bad. They're usually just small PHAs, handful of people. You probably have some people you know within the community, a couple old ladies working there. What we're talking about is the East Coast, the West Coast, and parts of the South. That's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about Nebraska and Wisconsin. Those people are pretty decent people. So let's make that distinction. That the Midwest is pretty good. People pretty damn wholesome. But when we roll up that East and West Coast and down South, everything I'm telling you is absolute reality with few exceptions. Okay. So if you're from Kentucky, Kansas, Missouri, you know, stuff like that, then, you know, unless you're in a major city, then I would say that you're probably dealing with good, fine people. But it doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. Okay. It just means that they're pleasantly not screwing you over. Okay. So there's a distinction between evil and violating people's rights and then being out in the country, say Kentucky, and then we're running a small housing authority. We're really good people, but you know, they may not necessarily know all policies. I haven't any objection to that, and I would never dare use my office or its resources to impugn myself against anybody or any PHA out the Midwest, where they're just simply trying to help people in the community. Okay. So let's make that distinction in this video. But when we do get the villagers to gas cannon matches, I'm talking about the East and West Coast. Okay. There are no prayer circles running down there. So I'm glad we can get that cleared up. And I hope you guys can take a look at the sheet so you can determine income and assets. Look, it's highly advisable that you get with a consultant if you're having or struggling being able to get this done. Remember, just because the housing authority is confronted with federal law doesn't mean through their own ignorance that they're going to accept that as a solution. They may even deny that the sheet is even real or that federal law doesn't apply to them. Now imagine that. Remember, you're dealing with people that are crazy. So if you get in that circumstance and Sally goes, no, there's no constitution. We don't have federal rights. It's whatever I say it is. When you hear that, you give me a ring. I'd like to help them out. You know, I'd like them to secure some shower slides, Okay, some flip flops for this Christmas in the local prison, please. Nothing gives me greater joy than to put the workers on my sleigh, my little reindeers, and we're gonna ride that ass all the way around until we land with the shower slides in the local prison. Okay, because nobody needs to go through this anymore. It's going to be tough next year with nearly half the system ejecting everybody. It's going to be a battle unlike anything we've ever seen in this country in terms of housing, vouchers, and homeless. And so, as we tighten and squeeze the life out of the system, we have to prepare. You guys have got to prepare yourself to defend yourself, okay? Is a great example before I go. If the cop pulls you over, beats you up, then you ride your Pinto up to the police station, only to find out that the person investigating it was a cop that beat you up. Then that should tell you that you don't ever want to file a complaint with the housing authority. Why would you do that? Okay, because they're going to investigate themselves. Sure, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to give themselves. They're going to wave the fairy wand, and they're going to grant themselves immunity. Of course. Oh my God. Oh yeah, I called the housing authority and I filed the report. And I'm thinking, yeah, you did. That lady giggled before she hung up on your ass. Give me a fucking break, man. You called the housing. What'd you do? I walked in the house and they gave me a Crayola and some construction paper and said, please send us a report. We require a minimum of 15 pages. My fingers were tired. My arthritis give out. I got to the 14th page, and then they said that I was trespassing. I think that I won. Yeah, honey buns, you won, all right. Look, take it before the judge. The law is the law. That's the only thing I love about court is it isn't about what you think it is. It's not about how you feel or what you believe is reasonable. It's about what the law specifically says in that book. Okay? They lose every flipping time because they try to practice rules and policies that do not align with actual laws. Makes it so simple. And the judges flat out tell you, hey, man, you're a liar. We've caught you. You perjured yourself. Now you're done. Nothing else that comes out of your mouth or your housing authority is admissible in this court or any future court case before my bench. Just the way I wanted it. It's like an exploding bomb. I didn't just screw you in court. I completely ruined you in the future. That's the ideal circumstance. That's why next year we may start keeping complimentary flip-flops for the PHA. I'm thinking about mailing a box up. Might as well to get ready. Get you some shower slides because ain't nobody going to want to help you when you're sitting in prison. At least old Jay, you can go down there at www.section8consulting.com and get a free pair of shower slides. Okay? So we are doing Christmas, and so you get free complimentary handcuffs, complimentary shower slides. It's quite ideal. As you see, I'm in the giving spirit. Moving on, Crystalline Molina, small town Texas here. They said they are issuing my daughter a voucher, same appointment. So no, because she graduated and we owed money. We never owed money. Very typical. They just found a great way to purge you on the merits of nonsense. It doesn't actually probably match anything in the list that I've actually issued here. It probably, that can be mediated. Yep, just 19 years old, fighting a mental health battle and trying to get a first apartment full time. I commend her. She's doing what's necessary as an adult. She's demonstrating, though she has adversity on her own part to deal with, that she's willing to get into society and find her way through it, despite her setbacks. And I commend those efforts. I commend every person here that suffers from any issue, whether bipolar, schizophrenia, or otherwise. Do not let this whole world and the people around you set the tone and mood of who and what you can be. Okay? Some of the smartest people I ever met had schizophrenia. Sadly, they struggle with other social issues. Do not allow people to be your judge and jury. You get to decide that. It is your reality. Don't stop fighting. And just because you have mental health issues does not exclude you from the rules, policy of this country. It doesn't exclude you from the amendments and your rights and your constitutional rights, okay? It is not a license to be treated badly or horribly, or to be taken advantage of or otherwise victimized, whether through the purpose of a job or dealing with a housing authority that doesn't want to give you anything because they've determined that they, on their part, couldn't deal with your mental health issue. That is a direct violation of 2008 Disability Act, and I will hammer their ass for that. Okay? Don't give up. Keep pushing. There's more in you. There's a lot of fight in all of you. And I hope for everybody's sake that we're all well prepared for 2026 as these changes become effective. And though I don't deliver the message in the most pretty way, you'll be hard up to find anybody that can present the information and all the manuals, operation manuals, policies, rules, and procedures in the manner in which I do. You'll find hard up to look nationwide and find any consultant that has outlasted my career. None of them even made it half my career. That's because I didn't hold my job with impunity and decide to judge everybody that was a gang member, a prostitute, a former drug addict, or even had a criminal record. Instead of bringing judgment to my job, I checked that shit at the door. Then I came to work. My focus was wholly on people that simply wanted to do better, to walk away from whatever it is they were doing, and were willing to do what was necessary to get housing and to try to protect them through that process so they weren't further victimized by people that simply gave no shit about them. Preferred they died in a car or sidewalk, that they had no meaning or value. That is the core of my entire career, was defending people that did not have the time, the energy, or even the sanity, stepping in place and taking the onslaught of what happened to them so they could breathe, so they could sit down, regroup. So that was my job, was to stand between these bad actors and the clients and stop full force, so people could breathe and literally move on with their life and see that there was a potential for a future that I was willing to defend. So call me as you wish, say as you wish about my professionalism. There's nobody in the damn country that does it better than I do. Okay? And I don't need any awards or thanks for that. It's just what it is. It came down to one simple thing. It's not about having a master's degree. It's not about training. Let me tell you the one simple thing that made me highly effective. The way my mama raised me. That set the core of everything going forward. I'm a byproduct of how my mother raised me. I exclude all other federal policies from that. It means I chose the path that I wanted to take, and I chose who I wanted to defend through that process. So out of all the shit I've learned, there's one core thing, and it represents everything that my mother was. And because of that, it made me effective. It also shows that I can demonstrate that I actually gave a damn, both morally, ethically, and centered, and with standards. You take that away, it doesn't matter how much policy and procedure you can parade around. Doesn't mean you any good if you've forgotten the core of what you are, what your purpose on this whole planet is. So take that as a core lesson. And for those of you who don't appreciate your mama, well, you want to know where you came from, what the core of what you are, your belief system. When they installed that software, it started with your mama, not your college degree. So if you want to pay homage to anybody, you want to thank anybody's ass on this planet, thank your mom and your dad for installing the proper software. It means a massive difference in terms of how you carry out this life. So that's my lesson. That's my little old lesson. That's Paul giving you a lesson for Christmas. I love you guys. I hope to see you tomorrow. A little bit later, I'm going to put up a very short video, maybe 10 seconds, for open housing waiting list. For those that are not interested in that, you don't need to join that video. For those that are looking to, see where an open waiting list to get a voucher is, please do join. You want notifications? Two options here, guys. I'll just be straight up. If you like the content, you like me, or if you just like me because I'm funny, get a membership here. It'll let you know when I make videos. Okay, that's the easiest way for you to get those notifications. It's $1.99. YouTube takes half, I get the other half. So you give me 99 cents, and I'll give you an eternity of notifications for Comedy Hour. For those of you here that need to pick something, then that allows you to get a notification. Otherwise, try subscribing, and then YouTube will determine 50-50 whether or not it'll give you a notification. It doesn't always do it, okay? So it bases your watch history and determining whether or not it believes it would be practical to send you that notification. It's the only way to guarantee it probably is a membership, which is useful for me. It almost seemed like a pyramid scam, but I'm not asking too much for my pyramid scam, just $1. Why not help me out here? All right. Other than that, my name is Jay. I'm the owner of Section8Consulting.com. Retire at the end of the year. And if you need help, you have our information below in the comments section and the description. And I've had a fabulous time living life, talking to the core of you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.